Welcome to Technology and Education Today. I'm Richard Smith.
And I'm Caroline Crawford.
And today we have been discussing the necessity of, well, I think it's a necessity, of including distance education
Efforts.
yeah.
How do you instruct? How do you design an online environment or a blended learning environment?
In the teacher preparation courses
Absolutely.
or programs of study in the various colleges of education.
Just like in traditional face-to-face environments, we need the mentoring, we need the role models. It's the exact same situation within an online environment or a blended learning environment. How do you do this successfully?
Well,
It's an art, but it's also a science.
right. It's two things.
I'm right. He said I was right. Yay. Okay.
It's two things. But as far as a teacher preparation program goes, I think that the schools of education really need to consider making online education a part of the curriculum for preparing teachers.
A natural, integrated
Right.
part of it. It's not an overlay. Oh, yes, and by the way, here's this. No, it needs to be integrated in an appropriate manner. It's not a set-aside type instructional environment. It is a vital component
Right. At the
of
high
teacher candidates.
well, at the high school level, I think definitely. At the middle school, junior high school level, probably, and at the elementary school level, probably you should lean more towards the use
Blended
of
learning.
the use of the internet in the classroom and technology. But that's all. That's a
There's a
different,
lot of
that's a
disruptive
different story.
technologies that are being integrated, excuse me, into the instructional environment, whether we're talking about bring your own device, blended learnings, flipped classrooms.
Sure.
All of these things are integrated at all the different levels of the K-12 environment as well as higher education. So the teacher candidates need to be aware of, as well as have modeled for them, strong representations of these type of skill sets that are necessary and appropriate.
I would say at least one course for teachers who are going to teach at the high school level should be dedicated to teaching online and creating courses online. And these are really two halves of the same whole. And so that a teacher should know how to, one, if the teacher is presented with an online course already constructed, how to manage that course.
As well as enhance the environment for the learners, as appropriate.
It's the possibilities of enhancement and where the enhancements can come and what to look for, and what to look for in an online course if you're asked to teach an online course that you haven't put together, if you have an option.
And, it's so difficult to do that well.
Yeah, but that's the type of thing that can be systematically taught in a methods class for online instruction. And the same principles work for any subject that's going to be taught online.
Absolutely.
At the same time, a teacher may be asked to create an online course.
Which is a totally different animal. You still have to know how to instruct within an online environment, the tips and tricks and the strength of the learners and analyzing learners and such, but developing an online course is very much a difficult task.
Now, I've seen online courses that have been developed by people who have never developed a course in their life and have not received any instruction on how to develop an online course. And I've seen courses developed by teachers who have been instructed in how to develop an online course and are already experienced developers, and the difference is like night and day.
It truly is.
And what happens is that if you've received no instruction at all on how to develop an online course, that person will then
the colloquialism about throwing everything and the kitchen sink in.
Yes, and what happens then is
cognitive load issues, too much information, no framework for it.
Right, you have too much information.
It's okay, I'll just finish your sentences for
you. You also have a course which is difficult for the students to understand.
And the instructor to instruct.
And most importantly, in my opinion, it's difficult for the instructor to instruct. And when I say difficult for the instructor to instruct, that means you've got a lot of work coming in on the part of the student and very little time to thoroughly check that work. So you have to understand how to design a course that is not going to take so much time from you that you cannot give time back to the students in, one, your online course, and two, the face-to-face courses that you will still be teaching, because if you're in a high school environment, most likely, let's say if you're teaching 5 courses or 6 courses, you'll be asked to teach one course online and the person, the administrator who asks you to teach that one course online and perhaps create that course,
has never taught an online course,
Right.
has no conception of what you're talking about, as well as imagines that it's just as simple
yes,
as instructing
it's
a
equivalent.
face-to-face
It
environment.
figures it's equivalent as to
And
instructing
it
a
is
face
so not.
face-to-face environment, and that's the big mistake. So the teacher then finds that the workload has tripled or
Tripled,
quadrupled.
quadrupled.
So these are the types of things that need to go into a teacher preparation course. You know, how to deal with that, how to design a course. The other things I would say, which
Not just in a
which
one-shot deal. It needs to be
no, it's a course.
modeled over and
Right.
over and over again, just like any other component of the
But
teacher
the
candidacy
other thing
programs.
that you sort of hinted at is how to deal with administrators of online courses who have never taught or created an online course himself or herself, because those people are kind of dangerous, and you will wind up with a massive workload.
Well,
You
and
have to
we've
be able
had
to-
those discussions in higher education as well about, oh, well, you can just do this. Doesn't work like you can just do this. There's a lot more involved. And trying to explain that succinctly to someone who has no concept what you're talking about can be difficult.
And then you need to be also, that what needs to be in there is how to design a course that is that the students can understand. That means they need to
You're
understand
very good at this.
with the yes, thank you. That they need to understand the directions within the course.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter whether this is a constructivist type course or a direct instruction course or a problem solving type
You
of
still need to understand
course.
the instructions. You still need to understand what the assessments are and how to go about the process of the instruction.
Now,
How do you learn within this online environment?
Absolutely.
Tell the learner.
I've seen
They
some
can't
courses
figure it out.
designed. I've seen some courses. I've reviewed courses, and
You can't make heads or tails of
I
it.
can't understand what I'm
And you're
supposed
not even
to do.
trying to figure out and learn anything in it
Right.
and get a grade.
Right. And then another component of this needs to be the use of video in an online course. So if it's if a teacher is going to create an online course with videos with the teacher actually as the narrator host,
Looking at special
That
needs issues.
they need, well, aside from the special needs issue, they need to be able to project a professional image on that video rather than just sitting at their kitchen table thinking that,
Umming and erring
yeah,
and
thinking, well,
chit-chatting.
I'm just going to be so casual
I'm just
and
going to
cool.
use my smartphone. That's
Yeah.
all I need. No, that's just not.
But the other thing that you mentioned is that, yes, these
Aren't I
online,
the intelligent creature? I keep
Yes.
mentioning interesting things.
what also needs to be in that course, teacher preparation course, is methods of meeting the requirements of students who are special education students.
Absolutely.
Because you're
And it needs to be designed into. It can't be an after effect.
right, and now this really complicates things. So that means that another section of a teacher preparation course should really be a method of evaluating online courses as an administrator, saying, well, do I want my teachers really to create their own courses if it's going to be this complicated, or do I want to buy a course? Now, if that is the case, if you're buying a course, you need to have enough training and education to be able to
Analyze and
recognize,
assess exactly what's
assess the
going on.
quality of the course. So all these types of things,
Should be
topics
integrated
need to-
throughout the teacher candidacy education programs.
but especially in a specific course to prepare students for online education. What
Now
you said,
that's where you and I differ. You believe that there should be one specific course
Yes.
where I think, okay, I understand the componency of having a separate section, a course section to emphasize, but it still needs to be integrated into all the methods courses.
yeah, within 5 or 10 years you can do that. But the problem right now is that there are very few people in colleges of education who know how and have been trained to create online courses. And
That's
to
a fair statement.
And to simply integrate it into a variety of methods courses, and ask methods teachers who can barely use a computer to start instructing teachers.
And that's a gap that
Yes.
needs to be
And that's a gap that
filled.
needs to be filled, and we can fill that gap at the next edition of Technology and Education Today. For Technology and Education Today, I'm Richard Smith.
And I'm Caroline Crawford. Bye.